Hey everyone, I'm Dustin, CEO of 630. I wanted to say thank you for your purchase of the easy boarding electric bike that I have right here. I hope you're excited to get your new e-bike and go out for a ride. Before you get your bike and before you start riding, I wanted to walk you through a couple important safety tips, not only during the assembly process, but also riding to ensure your safety when you're out there having a good time. Now, first and foremost, we recommend professional assembly, but if you're doing it at home yourself, there's a couple elements that are very, very important to make note of. Now, number one, on some versions of the easy boarding electric bike, they come with a quick release front wheel. Quick releases are great in the sense that you can take the wheel off easily and transport the bike, but it's important to ensure that you get the front skewer tight as possible. Now, when you insert the skewer through the front wheel, you have the clamp on the other side. You want to get that nut so tight or tight enough that when you go to clamp the clamp down, it actually it leaves a little bit of an imprint in the palm of your hand as you are pushing it down. If it goes down really easily, it's not tight enough. There should be some resistance as you push that clamp closed to the point of when you get it, it's moving very, very slowly as you are clamping down on the clamp of the skewer. Now, again, it's important too, you should check your wheel. Just make sure it's in there nice and secure, especially if you are utilizing that quick release quite often and taking the wheel on and off. It's important every time you slide it in and out that that wheel is nice and tight. Now, when you clamp the clamp down, it should be pointed just in front of the fork. So if the fork's like this, you would just have the clamp right like that, right? And it would be on the front side of the fork. If you can see right here, you can see the clamp is clamped just in front of the fork on that side right there. Also, you don't want to over push it like that. You want to leave it right about like this so the clamp doesn't get caught in the brakes or in the spokes or anything like that. Now, when you slide the wheel on, you have disc brakes, and there are pads inside the caliper of the disc brake. These pads will wear down over time. So you will need to change those pads, and we recommend examining the pads about every 100 miles. You will feel over time as the pads wear down, the brakes are going to get looser because as the less pad there is, the more travel the brakes will have to go, or the more the brakes will have to travel for the calipers to clamp down onto your rotor and stop your e-bike. So if those pads start wearing down, your brakes will lose stopping power. So it's very important that you change those pads or check those pads every 100 miles, and you will need to change them over time. And as they wear down, you will also need to make micro adjustments to the brakes to ensure that you have ample braking power. These things will be accelerated as well based on the weight of the rider and how frequently you are going downhill. If you're going downhill a lot and putting a lot of pressure on the brakes, those pads will wear faster than if you were just riding on flat ground. Now, pay attention again to the stopping power of your brakes. Test that. Make sure that they stop well enough, and be sure to change your brake pads as frequently as you need to do that. So, most important bolt on the entire bike is that front skewer. If you have an axle nut version, it's important to just get those axle nuts tightened to the point where you cannot tighten them anymore. You don't need to step on it and crank it down, but with a hand press, you want to make sure that that bolt will not go any tighter onto your bike. Keeping that front wheel secure on your e-bike is of the utmost importance to ensure a safe ride. Now, moving up here to the stem, we have two bolts right here. One that is used to raise and lower the stem, and another which is for the tilting of the stem. The bolt for the tilting here also needs to be tightened to the point where you cannot tighten it anymore with your absolute most pressure. If this bolt comes loose, the handlebars could slip down which could result in injury. So ensure that that bolt is as tight as possible. We recommend an Allen key with a handle on it to tighten that down. In addition to this bolt right here for the raising and lowering, if that is not tightened all the way, the handlebars could slip, become loose, and then you would lose your steering capability. So just ensure, double check, try and make sure that you have that bolt to the point where you can't tighten anymore, and your stem should be nice and secure, and you have nothing to worry about at that point. Now, other elements, the seat post, the seat clamp, you want to ensure that's tight as well. Otherwise, your seat may slip down. So go ahead and put a little pressure on it. Just see. You can, again, this should leave a little bit of an imprint on your hand. It should have some resistance as you're clamping it. You can twist the bolt on the one side to get it really tight and then clamp that all the way down. Also, there's a bolt under here for the tilting. You need those bolts to be tight as well. If those are too loose, your seat could actually tilt backwards and riders could slip off the back. So again, just give it a little shake like this. If those bolts are tight, nothing should move. If you feel it moving a little bit, just come in with your tool again and then give it a little extra tightening to ensure that it is nice and secure. Now, moving into the electronics and how to safely operate your Simple Step Thru e-bike. When you are standing here with your e-bike and you have the bike on, it is important to always have it in level 0. Now, you have 5 levels of pedal assist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also put it in level 0, which keeps the display on, but will not allow you to use the electronics. So when you're standing here, keep it in 0. Only until you're mounted and ready to ride should you put it into level 1. At which point, level 1, 2, or 3, at which point you can get up and riding. Also, I do not recommend putting it in any pedal assist level higher than 3 when you're starting from a stop. There's a lot of jolt that you will get, or enough jolt you will get from 1, 2, and 3 that you don't need to be in 4 and 5 when starting out. The only point I would recommend that would be for riders over 225 pounds. The motor will be a little more responsive in 4 and 5, but I still recommend, if you're getting used to it and riding for the first time, start out in 1, 2, and 3 as you get used to it. See how much assistance you really need when you're coming from a complete stop to moving. So the reason also for keeping this in level 0 is you do have the throttle. So you don't want to accidentally hit this if you have it in 1, 2, or 3, because as long as this is in level 1, this motor will be engaged. And if you click that throttle and the bike start moving, there could be a possibility of injury. Also, if you're slowing down on a ride and coming to a stop, I recommend putting it into 0 when you stop so you don't accidentally hit the throttle, you don't accidentally pedal and have the pedal assist kick in. That's really, really important. So if you're slowing down and you still want to pedal, put it into 0. It'll be much easier for you to control and park your e-bike without having that pedal assist kicking in while you're trying to come to a complete stop. Now, in addition to that, everything else is like riding a normal bicycle. Just be mindful of the throttle when you use the throttle. Please get comfortable with how much or how little that you need to use it. Also, be aware that once you start pedaling, the motor will engage. So you'll need to get comfortable with riding, if you're trying to slow down or in tight spaces, gauging how much of the assistance you can handle. That's why I recommend, as you're slowing down or in tighter spaces, just keep the motor turned off. The motor's great as you're up and riding long distances. You can start to cruise and really accelerate into the higher pedal assist levels. One other thing I'd like to note is on your battery back here, if your battery is not fully engaged, meaning fully clicked in, it's possible that your display won't turn on. So just make sure when you put your battery in, it's in all the way. And also there is a on-off switch for the battery underneath here. Make sure that is in the on position. If it isn't, the battery could slip out and again, your display wouldn't work. So just ensure that's all the way in, ensure your switch is on, and you'll be riding. Now, if you have any other questions at all, please email us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. And again, thank you for joining the 630 family. And don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.